In this module, we will look at some of the more advanced features of PowerPoint, including animation and a few other special effects. In this slide, the presenter is showing way too much data, even though they make an attempt to focus our attention by showing us exactly what to look at and compare. The other numbers on the slide are distracting and they're too small to be well seen. So be aware anytime you hear a presenter say, "There's a lot of information on this slide, but I want you to just focus on this part." Rather than doing this, take the information that you need, copy it, and make your own slide. It will be much better seen, and you can even further adjust and refine the data to make it even better laid out and more easily seen as you recopy it. In this slide, if you want the audience to focus just on panel B, you can enlarge the slide and show them only panel B. You can then take black boxes and cover the other parts of the slide so that you have just what you want the audience to see. Here are several slides on presenting data. This is an example of data presented on a multicolored bar graph. And you can see that looking across the years and at the different groups displayed on these bar graphs, you can easily compare the size of different groups and see that the sizes of them change from one bar to the next. You can do the same with this graph, but the third dimension really adds nothing except distraction, and you're better off to use just a two-dimensional bar graph, which again allows you to easily compare the size of different groups, which are well displayed in contrasting colors so that they can easily be seen. Pie charts, as you can tell from this, are difficult to read, especially three-dimensional pie charts. They're difficult to compare groups across, and they probably should not be used at all, except maybe in instances where you're talking about something like a budget. In this slide, the presenter was apparently trying to display the classification for tumors and their staging. 3 other slides followed this, talking about nodes and metastases. And you can only imagine what the presenter was saying and what the audience retained. So in a case like this, just remember that you need to resist the temptation to say everything that is known about a topic, because even looking at the first slide, people, unless they are very advanced oncologists, will become confused, information overloaded, and they'll tune out. So remember that less is more. If you're trying to make just a point or two off a slide, show the point that you want to make and not a lot of other extraneous data. If you need to present something such as on the previous slide, it can be put in a handout as reference material. In this slide, the presenter is laying out the topics for their talk. The slide is not too busy. The contrast is good in the color scheme. The problem is that the animation is the default animation of fly from left, and if you look at this over and over again, it can cause you to get a little bit motion sick. So better to use just the appear option, where each line appears one at a time without flying in. A little animation can be very helpful, especially when you're showing a flow diagram. So here are 3 examples. In the unanimated version, you can easily talk the audience through this scheme of prostaglandin synthesis, looking at each step and what causes each step to happen and what can block a step. If you use a little animation, though, you can focus the audience's attention on one step at a time and talk them through it one step at a time. However, be aware that using too much animation and too many special effects can be very distracting. So in this example, you can imagine that the audience is not paying any attention at all to the content of the slide, but instead is thinking, what is going to happen next? What's going to be the next special effect that we're going to see? However, it is okay to use animation occasionally for a humorous effect to break up the pace of your talk or to show something that's a little bit different. In this slide, we are talking about bladder cells or transitional cells as seen under the microscope, and we're comparing them to fried egg cells, which is their nickname. So you can use a little bit of PowerPoint to liven things up in this case. That's the end of this module. And again, the previous module talked about the basics of PowerPoint, such as color schemes and font sizes.